Hello again.
Hi.
Hi. So
Hi.
let us start with Half the Sky. Tidtaya, this was originally your idea. Can you tell us what was your inspiration and tell us a little bit about the background?
Yes, but before that, can we actually do like a little bit of experiment, because we just rewrote the synopsis of the show and we would just love to like read it and hear it out loud.
Sure, absolutely. We've been experimenting a lot today, so go ahead.
Yay!
So this show, Half the Sky, is a musical about an Asian American woman climbing Mount Everest. Here's our new blurb we're trying out for you right now. A year after her sister's death, Orly sets out to fulfill her childhood dream of climbing Mount Everest. She joins an international group of mountaineers led by a teenage Sherpa woman. As she embarks on her path to the top of the world, memories of her Thai American past and the unresolved rift between her and her sister begin to surface. Borders between countries and cultures, past and present, and waking and dreaming blur in this epic journey of ambition, survival, and reconciliation.
Yeah.
Woo! That sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Tidtaya, what inspired you initially to write this epic piece?
I've been fascinating about Everest since I was in college, and now I kind of responsible of taking Isabella into like the Everest rabbit hole with me. But when I was in college, there was there's always controversial on Everest, and there was something when back then, and then it kind of, I guess, it fascinates me of like the passion that people have that they're climbing, and then so I've been like always Googling occasionally what's happened on Everest each seasons, and then when we submitting this piece as a proposal to the Fifth Avenue First Draft program, we decided this is going to be a story about an Asian American woman climbing Mount Everest, and it's going to be a sister story. Yeah, Isabella, did I miss anything?
No. I just add climbers sometimes climb in honor of causes or people, and sometimes after a climber has died on the mountain, one of their family members will climb in honor of them. So that was the starting point for us. And also as Asian American women, we thought that we had the chance to bring a new perspective to the Everest narrative. Everest is a story about trying to find a boundary. But like Everest is literally on an international border between Nepal and Tibet. It occupies this kind of liminal space between consciousness and unconsciousness, between dreaming and waking. And as Asian Americans, we know what it's like to occupy this kind of third space in between two different cultures. So we were really interested in exploring this idea of aiming for a border. And also as women, there are many women who climb, but the climbing culture is mostly very male-centric, also very egocentric, but oftentimes it's about, kind of beating a mountain into submission physically. It can be very violent and colonialist. So we were so drawn to this mountain, and Tidtaya had her own dream about Everest, and we thought this was a perfect chance to inject this story with a new perspective.
So the first song we're going to hear, I believe, is the opening. Is it the opening song of the musical? So this might be a good segue for you to tell us, a little bit about the characters we're about to see, and as we introduce the first song called Higher.
Yes, so it's an opening of the musical, and it begins with Orly, our protagonist, a young Thai American woman, and she's hiking to the camp at the foot of Mount Everest, which is called Everest Base Camp. So along the way, she meets fellow climbers from around the world, like including Dawis, a young Sherpa woman who is the manager of the climbing company, Rod, an Indian British mountaineer who lives on the road, Liz, an American who is crossing off her bucket list, and Jerry, a billionaire from Hong Kong who is attempting Everest for the 3rd time. So they look up and see a Buddhist prayer flag with 5 colors, which inspires them to sing about their dreams of climbing.
Great. Anything else, Isabella, or should we?
That's
We're
perfect.
ready for the first song called Higher.
Padme hum, om mani 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 padme hum. Look up there. See the flag? Blue, white, red, green, and yellow.
It's a Buddhist thing.
I know the prayer. This flag is old and faded. Its colors are all around us now. They're leading us to the foot of Mount Everest. Blue fills our ears. Hear the mountain song. Chomolungma.
Home of the goddess Miolang Sangma.
So that's Everest. Right. We're climbing that.
I must be out of my mind.
Climbing this mountain. We are all crazy. Red fuels desire. Feel the mountains fire.
Higher,
That was so beautiful. Tidtaya, that's such interesting music, the style of music. What is influencing you there in that music?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, Isabella is also a very talented musician. And even before we start writing the first song, which actually was the opening that you just hear, I mean, we create a Spotify playlist for like Nepali band, and we have listened to like multiple types of music. There's Sherpa pop music, and there's a lot of things that we discover. Like there's a lot of different meters that we can use, and a lot of scales and modes that we can just incorporate it and merge it with like musical theater sound. And I guess I'm a little lucky in a way that I grew up in Thailand and I went to a performing arts school. And even though I play flute and piano back then, they also they also require people like me to study like traditional Thai music instruments too. So although I trained reading music, but back then I also get the chance to like actually listen and, actually train something that wasn't just looking at the sheet music. So I think that in a way helped me writing this piece out.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful and unique sound, I think. We have a question from the chat. By the way, I should let everyone know who's listening that put any questions you have for the writers at any time in chat, and we'll try to get to all of them. So from Kathleen, have you two ever climbed yourselves or know someone personally who has climbed Mount Everest?
I know someone who's been to the base of Mount Everest, which is a whole journey in itself and very trying. And I remember him saying that it smelled like yak dung because they burn, that's what they burn for fuel for the stove and for lighting. So I just remember him saying that it was very uncomfortable and very difficult to sleep. Of course, it's very high there already, so smelly and kind of gross and hard to sleep. But Tidtaya and I aren't climbers, but we've talked to a lot of people who grew up climbing, who climb now, who lead groups and expeditions. So we've done a lot of, and we've been working on this piece for a year and a half. It's very new, but we've written very, very quickly. But we've spent the very beginning part of our writing process really doing a lot of deep research and kind of reading and watching everything that we possibly could about Everest. There's a lot of great, there are great books and movies, podcasts that have been made about it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Go ahead, Tidtaya.
Oh, sorry. Well, yes, and also one of the book that we read, there was a quote, and I'm sorry, like I don't remember which books, but there's a quote that everyone has their own Everest to climb. So in a way, like even as a musical theater writer, like the passion for us climbing our own Everest, like metaphorically, like I think everyone can relate on like what we passionate and wanted to do something, reach that summit. So I think in a way it relates to us too. I mean, even now, like I feel like our Everest is like been through storm and blizzard and all this stuff, but like we're still climbing it in a way. So yeah, I do really like that quote, and I feel like we all related to this circumstance of our own metaphor Everest, I guess.
Here's a question from Lily. Why is it important to both of you that your lead is an Asian American woman?
Oh my goodness.
Well,
I mean, do you want to go?
I could go really quickly, but I mean, I think sometimes people think about Everest and we hear so many stories about the adventures and all the, disaster that could happen there. Sometimes we also forget that Everest is in Asia.
Right.
And actually, like
Right.
the first woman who summit Mount Everest was actually an Asian woman too. So, I mean, why not?
Why not? There you go. So that can lead us into our next song.
Great.
Who would like to set that up? Tell us about it. Okay, Isabella.
This is Vistare. I'll give you a little bit of setup about the climb of Everest because it's very specific. It's quite difficult to climb Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world, in one push. So usually most climbers will use the method of siege climbing, where you go up to a camp, then you come back down to rest, then you go a little further to a new camp, then you come back down. So in this way, you can acclimate your body to the altitude so it's not such a shock when you're right up at the peak. So that being said, Vistare in this song, the climbers are beginning the very first step of this ongoing cycle, which is going through the Khumbu ice fall. It's basically being on a glacier, a river of ice. It's extremely unstable. There are lots of holes in the ice and crevasses that you have to cross on ladders, wobbling ladders. And you have to start when it's still dark, before the sun comes out and melts the ice. So you're climbing by the light of this lamp on your helmet, just watching the person in front of you hanging onto this rope. Yeah, it's crazy. Luckily in our story, these climbers have a very trusty, experienced guide in Dawa, this young Sherpa woman who's also the head of the trekking company and part of a legacy of Sherpa climbers. And she begins this song telling the climbers to stay calm and follow her lead.
And tell us what Vistare means.
It means slowly in Sherpa, and you'll hear the ensemble echoing it behind Dawa.
All right. Wonderful. So let's now watch the video of our next song.
Bistare, bistare,
Bistare, bistare.
follow my light, follow my light. Bistare, bistare,
Bistare, bistare.
take my rope, follow my light. No matter what, just keep holding tight.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
You're doing great. Trust me. Bistare, bistare, but not too slow, not so slow. Bistare, bistare, not yet done. There's more to go. Don't rush ahead, just stay close. So far through the night to the light of day. The farther we walk through time, night falls away. Slowly, slowly. Bistare, bistare, follow my voice, follow my voice. Bistare, bistare, follow my voice, follow the sound. Don't be fooled by solid ground. Don't let your guard down in the Khumbu icefall. Remember, it's always moving, right under our feet. Hurry, the ice is moving. Hurry across the ladder. Hurry, the ice is moving. Hurry across the ladder. Hurry, the ice is moving. Hurry across the ladder. Let's move, everyone! Morning is soon arriving. Hurry, the sun is rising. Morning is soon arriving. Hurry, the sun is rising. Hurry, the sun is rising. Hurry, the sun is rising. Bistare, bistare, follow my light, follow my light. Bistare, bistare, follow my light, follow my light. Follow the sun, follow the sun. Welcome to Camp 2.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
We have to give a shout out to the Weston Playhouse and Ghostlight Records, who made those demos possible through the Weston Ghostlight New Musical Award this year. And Kathy, you know that those demos were recorded literally days before New York and much of the world shut down because of COVID-19. So I remember hugging those performers tightly, and I think those were some of the last hugs I gave.
Oh, wow.
Well-deserved
Yeah.
hugs.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to go to that reading and see those performers, and oh, they're so talented.
Very blessed.
As you know, I love that song, and to me it like really is a great example of how music can make you visualize a physical thing. Like our family likes to hike a lot, not Mount Everest, but mountains. And I feel like that song, you can really feel like people taking step by step. And there's the ultimate goal of the view at the end, or the peak, or for them, the base camp. And I just feel like that song evokes that feeling so well.
The Sherpas are known for singing a lot. I think music is in their culture, and I think part of it is moving in that way. The singing to kind of keep yourself going, keep your body going. I think that's using a kind of refrain or a mantra is something that a lot of athletes or people who do intense physical activity like that, I think they enjoy using that.
Great. Well, before we do our last song, do you want to talk a little bit, or maybe it's a lead up to the last song, about the relation, the family story, which she told me that's what you worked on a lot this past week.
Yes. You want to take it to Tidtaya, or should I?
Well, as you see the synopsis, it's like we've been experimenting so many rewrites for these 3 women, like Orly and her sister, and then her mom, and then we rewrite the same scenes I think 3 times already. We have 3 different versions this week, and then it's interesting because we kind of read just the scene of the family from beginning to end, and we'll figure, I guess now we're going to try to integrate them into past and present. And it's as much, Isabella, correct me, but as much as it is about grieving. It's about losing your loved ones and the unfinished dreams.
Yeah, the border I was speaking of before, there's also this border for this character between past and present. So in the present, she's climbing Mount Everest, dealing with all of those travails.
That's
Orally.
orally.
Past is orally, yes,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. But her past is coming back to haunt her because her sister, her younger sister, died, and she hasn't given herself the chance to figure out what that means for her. So she's being haunted by these memories of, sitting on the roof with her sister in their childhood, and her arguments with her mother, who's an immigrant from Thailand and disillusioned with the American dream. Her sister is a free spirit who wants to become a mountaineer and drop out of school, and they have unresolved tension that is still lingering even after Eve has died, Eve the sister. So balancing these 2 kind of parallel tracks and seeing where they come together is something that that is for us, I think, the core of writing this piece.
That's wonderful. So do you want to set up outside, which Isabella's going to perform for us tonight?
Yes. So this song comes at the beginning of Act 2, and Orly is in her tent on the night before the summit push. and she has a flashback to the last conversation she had with her mother, which was an argument about the death of her sister, but she pushes away the memory and gets ready to climb.
Great. Turn it over to Isabella.
All right. Ready? You could be anywhere. Mount Hood or Mount Rainier. A tent in darkness in the snow. Why can't you catch your breath? You trained for this all year. Already dizzy, going slow. And every time you close your eyes, a feeling you don't recognize. Why hide from something you don't know? You know that lacing up your boots is easy. Zipping up your coat is easy. Putting on your hat, that you can do, no question. Though your heart is beating fast now, there's no use in going back now. Open up the tent and walk through. Just go outside. Take only what you need, just for a couple days, just like a weekend on the road. You don't have room for pain. That burning goes away. It won't protect you from the cold. Don't even try to sleep tonight. Whatever's past is in the past. Some things are out of your control, but you know that lacing up your boots is easy. Zipping up your coat is easy. Putting on your hat, that you can do, no question. Though your heart is beating fast now, there's no chance of going back now. Open up the tent and walk through. Mantung wela tijak garden sujud mai. Mantung wela tijak garden sujud mai. I know it's time to go. Lacing up my boots, I'm ready. Take another breath, I'm ready. All my bags are packed and overhead. It's clear as crystal, though my heart is beating fast now. I am never going back now. No more time to question why I'm here. Now I'm here. Standing outside.
Wonderful.
So beautiful.
Andrew.
I'm sitting down. What? Stand through that. This is too beautiful.
It's like a stunt every time you stand. That was amazing, guys.
So gorgeous.
Thank you.
Isabella, did you?
No, you go. You probably have smarter questions than me.
Oh well, no pressure. I was just curious, Isabella, if you'd put any vocals on those demos, or if you just sat back in the writer's seat.
Oh, no, I did not record those demos. There's enough that I need to worry about as a writer. I love, that's actually how I met Tidtaya, but performing new work. And I love helping writers like find their way to through the process and through the piece, and that's what I love doing as a performer. But no. As a writer, I have enough on my plate.
How did you two meet?
Tidtaya, I was cast in actually something Tidtaya had written, and then we continued to work together, and I got to know Tidtaya and her music, and like right when I was thinking if I were ever going to write something, maybe I should approach Tidtaya, that's when Tidtaya came to me with the idea for Half the Sky. So it's perfect.
Cool.
But can I also just say that this is Isabella's first musical, and she's amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's great.
How do you guys, I'm always curious about process because musicals are such a interesting fusion of so many different skills. So how do you guys work together, and how did you work together this week?
Oh, I miss Isabella's old apartment because she has a grand piano.
Wow.
Yes.
Damn.
And then we would go to her apartment and then, write together. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But
we started writing. We actually wrote a lot of the score first. So that was kind of interesting. The score, I think, was the backbone to the piece. But this week we've been working a lot on the book, so it's a little bit of a reversal from before. Yeah.
And you guys are both co-writing both together.
I'm the book writer and the lyricist, and Tidtaya's the composer.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes.
But you're working together like this week, just in terms of like the Zoom of it all. Were you guys like in sessions all day long, or?
Yes.
I was sharing. So what was happening was I would share screen. I don't know if you guys did this, but I would share screen on Zoom because we would be in the Google Doc. We write in Google Drive, and there would be a delay. There's like a 3-second delay, and I would be like, I highlighted this word. Like, what do you think? It just would be like, I can't see it for 3 seconds, and I was like, oh, we can't do this. So I would just share screen, and I would be writing, and Tidtaya would just see the doc and be like, oh, put that line there, try seeing, maybe she does this, and yeah, so that's it. We were writing on Zoom. We were really on Zoom the whole week.
That's awesome.
Hooray for Zoom. One thing I wanted to let everyone know who's listening is they can hear the beautiful demos that were made through the Weston Ghostlight Records Award at I just want to make sure I have that right, halftheskymusical.com. And there'll be a link in the chat, and you should bookmark it because the music is so gorgeous. So
we should also shout out to our director, Desdemona Chang. Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
So Isabella and Tidtaya, I think we're going to be saying goodbye to you now. You'll come back at the end to ask your questions. Thank you so much.
That was amazing, guys.
Thank you.
It was amazing.
See you soon.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
All right. So the Dixon Family Album team, as Anna said, you're basically writing 24/7 because of your time. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Time
One of us
difference.
working at all times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to turn this over to you three to tell us the story, the background, how you came up with this idea, and Andrew will share a few songs with us.
Perfect.
So take
Thanks,
it over.
Kathy.
Awesome.
Take it away.
Cool. So as Kathy said, I'm Jordan. I'm one of the co-creators of Dixon Family Album. Anna and Andrew and I met I guess almost 15 years ago now, which feels insane to think about. And then in 2014, we were lucky enough to get one of the fellowships at Williamstown, where we started developing this musical. And actually, it was Anna's idea that she brought to Andrew and I. She had found this astounding documentary about this band from the 60s called the Cowsills. And really, the documentary was about them 30 years later as adults. They were this family band that the Partridge Family was ultimately based on. And so this documentary really just unpacked how that affected them as adults. So we had this really intense development period at Williamstown with these brilliant actors. And then pretty quickly we were like, oh, that's not the show we want to make. We want to make this other show. So then we arrived at this week about 7 years later, finally.
Oh my God.
And started really digging into like that dream of what the show could be, which Anna will tell you about now.
Yeah. So you guys, I'm just gonna pull up my little document here. So the Dixon Family Album takes place in a halfway house in San Jose, California in 1997. And our lead is Ronnie Dixon, who is affable and childish, and he's the now 48-year-old former lead singer of the Dixon Family Band. So he was, just a kid during their brief but bright time on the pop charts. So Ronnie is obsessed with and idealizes his past, his family, and their band. But the reality is that they haven't actually played together since they split 30 years ago. And since then, Ronnie has had certain struggles with mental health, and he's become a singer-songwriter in his own right, with songs that are sort of reminiscent of, the music of Daniel Johnston and sort of other more out there outsider artists, like the sort of solo stuff of Brian Wilson. At the halfway house, he meets Adam, who's the 10-year-old son of his therapist in the house. And Adam's parents have recently split up. So Ronnie and Adam find that they actually have a lot in common, and they form a strong, unusual friendship that's at the center of the musical. When the plans for the Dixon Family Reunion album that they were planning to make, that Ronnie was going to make with his siblings, falls through, Ronnie is forced to confront the trauma from his past. It wasn't all pop songs and family bonding. There are a lot of painful memories and realities that Ronnie has simply overlooked that all come flooding back. So within the musical, songs exist as both diegetic and musical numbers across multiple genres, and the songs from the past are in sort of a 60s pop realm, whereas the present music is 90s influenced. And I'll just hand it off to Andrew in a second to play a few songs. And just to preface the first number, Ronnie records all of his songs on a tape recorder with an introduction. And here is Andrew.
Hey, so this is a song that happens really early in the show. I think it might be the first song that the character Ronnie has written that we're hearing. And in this moment, he's like downstairs at the halfway house with Kyla, who's the therapist and social worker who cares for the home and the residents, and Jojo, one of the other residents. And they've, in talking about Ronnie's preparations for getting back together with his family and like making music together again and forming this album, they wind up asking him to play one of these songs. So he's like, okay, and he gets his electric guitar and he gets his little tiny amp, and I'm not going to touch it, but it's over there. I'm pointing to it. And he gets out his tape deck, his cassette, and puts in a fresh cassette, and he pushes record, and he says, hello. Title is All My Friends Are Here to Stay Forever and Beyond That Too, written and sung by Ronnie Dixon. And also guitar by Ronnie Dixon. Performed in front of audience of Kyla S. and Jojo L. on March 24th, 1997 in San Jose, California. I've been rewatching my favorite episode of my favorite nature show, Dunbar's Jungle. I recorded it on VHS. It's kind of about how animals make friends, and of course, we are animals. Did you know that, Jojo? That's true. You see, animals keep their friendship strong by grooming each other, which they like, because it feels good. And we like to feel good, too, because we're animals. Animals who are friends. All of us here in the house. But way back when, before we had electricity, or houses, or language with words, we figured out we could groom more friends at once by making nice sounds, because the sounds made us happy, like grooming did. And that turned into language. And that turned into gossip. I know you love gossip, Jojo. And that turned into stories. And that turned into song. And that turned into language. Play some mouth trumpet, Jojo. There you go. And that turned into gossip. And and that turned into stories, and that turned into song, and now, we're having a good time. Everybody's like dancing around the living room. That turned into language. That turned into gossip. And that turned into stories, and that turned into songs. And that's why I'm singing to you. It's my way of grooming. And you wouldn't like it if I ate bugs from your hair. Songs are how I make you feel good and maintain our bond as friends here. And I'm really good at singing. In fact, I've had a lot of practice. I was a child prodigy after all. And that's why all my friends are here to stay forever. And beyond that too. Yeah, that's that song. And then we've got a cassette. It's like, stop. And there's a cassette of that song on stage. Imagine that. That's delightful. Okay, so I'm going to play a couple more tunes. And this next one is special because I'm going to sing along to a demo, which is also terrifying. So it's just like a demo with the vocal removed. And I made here in my apartment. This is a fun song. That song I wrote this week for this new version of the show. And this song is one that has made it over that past version that we worked on years ago at Williamstown. Adam was still a character in that show, but under different circumstances. And it's true of Adam as he always has a Game Boy with him. He's kind of like super really attached to his Game Boy. And this song is kind of the first time we really get to hear Adam on the inside. He has met Ronnie, and they've started like forming this like unlikely sweet friendship. And Adam is a little bit withdrawn and struggling with his parents' divorce and doesn't really open up a lot. After Ronnie has shared music with him earlier in the show, like his actual music that he makes, in this scene, Ronnie's able to suddenly like crack open Adam a little bit when he starts asking about the game that he's playing on his Game Boy, which if you've ever talked to like an 11-year-old about a video game that they love, this might have a slightly familiar vibe. Oh gosh. Okay. Those are warm-up sounds I'm making because this song is written for more of a tenor than I am. Don't know why I would do that to myself, but I have done it. Okay, well, I'm going to turn my reverb up a little bit. We have this great little back end thing with some dials that Adam Lenson, our incredible producer, actually built. It's so cool. Okay, here we go. I've got my Game Boy. I'm Adam. You understand. Whoop. My dad gave me this Game Boy on the last birthday of mine he didn't miss. My favorite game's a puzzle game. I'm good at puzzles. It's called Tetris. I play all the time. I play all the time. All the time. You see, it's got all of these shapes, and they're falling one by one into an empty space, like a well or a pit. Like a pit, that's it. Each one falling down into this pit. Falling and falling and falling and falling and falling and falling. Until it hits the ground. Or it hits the shapes that hit the ground before it. They're called tetrominoes. All of the shapes that fall, you can spin them around, but you'll never fit them all. They're called tetrominoes. All of the shapes that fall, you can spin them around, but you'll never fit them all. I'm a tetromino, falling into the pit, spun around. No one knows where I fit. My dad gave me this Game Boy right before he left my mom and me. I'm always trying to call him, but it's hard for him to answer because he's busy. I play at school, I play at home.
I can be alone. I prefer to be. I'm a criminal, falling into the pit. Spun around, spun around. No one knows where I fit. I'm a criminal, falling into the pit. Spun around, spun around. No one knows where I fit. If I could stay with my dad again, then I'd fit in. I wouldn't have to spin and spin. How much fun we had. He'd come back home and be the dad he used to be. When him and me would laugh and play, he'd tuck me into where I fit in. I wouldn't spin, I wouldn't spin, I wouldn't spin, I wouldn't spin. But I'm a criminal, falling into the pit. Spun around, no one knows where I fit. I'm a criminal, falling into the pit. Spun around, no one knows where I fit. I'm a criminal, falling into the pit. Spun around, I don't know where I fit.
Yeah, so that's Adam's song. And we've had a lot of fun this week imagining the Game Boy and games on the Game Boy and how that can intersect with Ronnie's sort of past emerging. It was really lovely to hear Isabella talk about the past and this prior event, this unresolved history that plays a big role in the internal arc of the character, as opposed to like a musical that's like two people fighting about, you know, a romantic interest or something like that we've seen a million times. I really love that about Half the Sky. And it was also fun to hear echoed that in our show also there's this past and these characters in the past who keep showing up. And we've been playing a lot with the idea of like a video game nightmare dream sequence that Ronnie has in the back half of the show. That was sort of one of our newest elements. So hopefully Game Boy shenanigans will continue. So I'm going to play just one more song. And this one, I don't know what this will be. Maybe this song won't be in the show at all. It's this. This is the whole song. And there's nothing else written down besides this. And I was sort of thinking a lot about anger and anger for Ronnie. And processing difficult emotions, and trying to find the space for that. I'm going to change my amp a little bit. Yeah, so I think this was part of a general like 90s vibes exploration. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, I imagine this is a song of Ronnie's. I wrote it from thinking about Ronnie. Although I don't know if this is a song that Ronnie would have written, or if this is a song that Ronnie might sing in the more musical theater-y sense. Forever a question. I feel the spinning wheel. The knife is sharp and I make the big mistake. I'm pretty sure it was the right one. What do I do with all the rage? Pick a fight so I can fight one. I'm on the wheel, I'm in the cage. I'm someone else. At least I'm someone. I feel the spinning wheel.
knife is sharp and I make the big mistake. I'm pretty sure it was the right one. What do I do with all the rage? Pick a fight so I can fight one. I'm on the wheel, I'm in the cage. I'm someone else. At least I'm someone.
Wow.
Yay.
It was such a treat. We're so, what genius programming to have us both on the same event, because our stories are kind of like cool counterpart to each other. Like you're saying, Andrew, it's a past and present, working through something that happened in the past, and having that being thrown into relief with the situation that you're in right now. But also the family, connection to family, and this shared passion and this joy that was there in this family connection that is now kind of lost, and having to face that. That's so cool. They're totally different. I think our pieces are totally different, but have so much in common.
I love that. Also, Isabella, your blurb writing skills are so sharp.
Totally.
So now I was like, oh, let me write some of those sentences, those really good sentences down. Thanks for listening so like, thoroughly.
Oh my god. Closets. Tidtaya, do you have a question?
Oh, yes. I mean, I have the same question, like what comes first, music, book, or lyrics? And actually, like Andrew, like I'm gonna hear your voice with like looping in my head next week, I think.
So the way that we've previously done it is I write the whole book almost like a play. And then, I mean, we talk about it, like, especially recently, once we sort of pivoted from the old version, you know, we had a conversation about where it was going to go, and I made an outline, and then from there did another draft, and then we discussed again, and then I'll note, you know, like, essentially it becomes this sort of like open forum. Like, if I'm like, maybe there's a song here, I don't know, or like, if there seems like a spot that could be like particularly emotional, maybe I'll just like write a long monologue. And be like, maybe this is all bad, but like maybe there's something in here that Andrew would want to take from this. And then Andrew will go through the doc, and we've been doing Google Docs as well, and note like, I actually think this is a song too, and whatever. So like, we sort of mine it together. And we haven't been doing, in the last time we worked together, we would like discuss a song, and I would like write like diarrhea monologue. Or I think there's been less diarrhea monologues this time around.
Yeah.
Right?
I think, you know, our last process was so like product oriented because we had to like get a show up.
Yeah.
And so this week was like so nice to just be able to actually sit in it and really talk.
Yeah.
And sort of allow ourselves to get actually just much messier than we ever sort of could.
Yeah, and I think that we all sort of work similarly in terms of like organically doing things when we feel like, you know, so there isn't like, though I've been trying to get to the end of the first draft of this new version, like, you know, Andrew is going to places where he feels inspired and you know, based on conversations that we have with Jordan, which we've been doing every day over Zoom. You know, it has been messy, but like there are places where we're like, yeah, this seems to work, and like it'll probably be part of the show, you know, and so maybe Andrew will focus there, but there are places where we're like, I don't know, this seems like a mess, and something else will happen here eventually.
Andrew, we had a question from the YouTube chat from Kyle Pucci, who's one of our writers this summer. He wondered in Adam's song if there's a little 7/8 time happening in that music.
Yes, there is. The chorus is in 7/8, which 2014 me. What were you thinking? It's very hard to do to a demo track because I'm like, don't jump it. There's more beats.
Yeah, 7/8. Whoa. Well, we're coming up on the end, and I'm just so grateful for all 5 of you for sharing your musicals with us. I wanted to take a second to thank our amazing donors to Rhinebeck Writers Retreat. We get support from the National Endowment for the Arts and the New York State Council on the Arts, and the underwriting support for Half the Sky residency from Liz and Bill Mills, and lead support for the Dixon Family Album residency from the Noel Coward Foundation. We're so grateful to all of those institutions for supporting us.
And thank you, Kathy.
Yeah,
this
thank
has been
you.
so amazing.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much.
Well, I just wanted to say, if anyone who's watching wants to support these incredible writers and our future writers, there'll be a link in the YouTube chat, and there's also a link in the description underneath. And once again, I just want to thank all 5 of you. It's so interesting. It is a total coincidence, by the way, that you are together, but it was so interesting to hear the similarities and the differences. That's why I love musicals. They can be a lot of different things. So thanks very much, and we'll say goodbye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.